Excuse me, sir. Pardon me. Sir, could you spare me 3 pennies? I
What would you be
don't.
using them for?
I wanted to make a stack of pennies. I was hoping if I had 3,
Yes.
I would be able to stack on top of each other
Yes.
1, 2, and then 3 pennies.
Yeah.
A 3-penny stack.
Yes.
3 penny stack.
Mm-hmm.
That's possible.
And then I would.
Nope.
No, you don't.
Okay, and what would you expect your profit to be after the 3 pennies would be stacked?
Well, I mean,
And what
there's a lot of
equity
overhead
you
in
ask-
this operation here,
Put in
so
my 2 cents, it would be 5 cents.
well, I just need
You'd
to.
have
Please,
3,
we can't
and then
stack
I put in 3
5.
cents, and then it would be
Stacking 5 pennies is obscene, and we just don't have the room for that kind of
You
work.
seem
Actually,
pretty inexperienced with penny stacking, and I don't really have faith in this business idea and your mission statement. So for that reason, I'm out. And for that reason, we will be starting the Sci-Fi Rebellion Podcast.
welcome to it's the Sci-Fi Rebellion Podcast. And this,
Sorry about said delay, which was never said but strongly implied. There may or may not have been technical difficulties, or maybe if it makes you sleep better, we actually went to Africa and saved some children. So
I know,
who knows
in
why
one
we're
of the many parallel universes, we
Has
did
there-
go, instead of recording last episode, we went and we saved the lives of 50,000 turtles by pulling the straws right out of their nostrils,
their gullets.
their nostrils.
Yeah. So
But
here we
we're
are.
very sorry about it,
That's
honestly.
just unfair.
Yeah, we wanted to be there, but, sometimes this stuff happens. So we're glad to be back, and we're glad to be bringing you guys another episode of... Was this people's second favorite podcast, or was this...
This
I think
was the first.
I
Oh,
think we
okay.
were number 2 on iTunes last
number
week.
2
podcast-
on... What?
I do.
What?
In the podcast choice awards, I think we won best in show.
Yes.
So
Well,
um,
welcome back, everybody. Welcome back.
Welcome. We got a lot to talk about today, so buckle up. Grab your popcorn, grab your condoms. We're gonna get right on into it. So yeah, condoms you can throw them right out. We're raw dogging it.
We are going in all in.
Oh, boy.
So this week we have what? We have a brand new season premiere of a Rick and Morty. We have 2 episodes, also a season premiere of Locust, and 2 episodes of the continuation of Bad Bucci. So we like I said, buckle, take off your buckle depending on how you like to live your life. I'm not going to tell you how to do it. So
There will be deer along the road, so if you aren't buckled in, I'm just saying, if you fly through the windshield, we did warn you. So prepare
Yes, sir.
yourself mentally, physically. Maybe get some lube.
maybe even anally
Yeah.
prepare yourself.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I wasn't
alright.
gonna say anally. I just said get the lube. It was implied.
I-
You said
I
it though.
said it. And for
Killed it.
anybody that was confused, we're anally about to
Killed
get
it.
right into it.
I'm in that category. I'm confused.
All right.
We're gonna
So
get into it with the
What should we
Loki.
start off with Loki.
Loki. Now, Jarod,
Yes.
what'd you think about Loki? We got it. We started to get into a conversation last episode. We got cut short, and we missed, and now we're back, and this show is now out. It's coming. What are you thinking right now? What are you thinking?
I am enjoying it. It is a lovely ditty of a show. There's all sorts of fun things going on in this show. We've got the good old Loki, which we are getting to see more of as an actor. He is doing a phenomenal job, I think.
Yes.
Um, you get to see a lot of like subtle things in how he's a pretty dang good actor, which I'm enjoying to see. The overall show premise I like because it's funky, and I like when things get funky because it's
Funky fresh.
fresh, funky fresh.
Funky
Funky
fresh.
fresh.
The
Funky town.
the TVA is a very interesting place, which I'm sure we will talk about in a good depth today. But
Indeed.
it is much enjoyed thus far. Yeah. What are you thinking?
When you want to take the reins on your thoughts and ideas?
I'm on the reins. Yeah, I agree with you, Jared. This show has been really great so far. I think what we've seen visually, I think has been phenomenal. It looks great. I think the writing so far has definitely intrigued me, and we've already seen some cool stuff go down, and I already have some questions. And the music, of course, I feel like is probably the best out of all of the shows that has come out
Maybe
thus
even
far.
most
It
MCU movies.
it
Quite possibly.
is
It's very good.
very
I'm
mesmerizing.
just tossing shit out here.
It's ethereal and magical, but
So
there's no
sticky.
magic, but it's
Nope.
magical.
It
There's
makes me
little,
feel,
little magic. Little
it makes
magic.
me feel
Little
something again.
Yeah. Music is easily like one of my favorite things going on right now. And shout out to Natalie Holt, who I believe is the composer for this.
Hulk?
I did look into her previous
Holt.
backstory, her previous discography, and haven't found anything that I've recognized. So in my eyes, this is a
Breakthrough.
great breakthrough.
Therefore, she's done nothing in the past, and this is the first time trying, and she is winging it.
Now,
Doing a fantastic job.
I don't want to say that she came possibly from an alternate universe, but
It's possible.
I mean, let's just say she is.
She is.
Yeah, the whole TVA thing is really interesting, and how like the first episode, how like they just throw you right into it, like this is just another day at the TVA, and obviously we're looking at it from Loki's perspective, who we know like the whole history of the MCU and whatnot, and so like we thought, when we hit the Infinity Saga, like the Gauntlet and the Snap, and now with the Eternals coming out, we're like, okay, so like that's like the upper echelon. What
There
word
you
am I
go.
looking
You
for?
got it. You
There
got
is.
it.
There it is. The echelon of
The
what's it called?
vernacular.
Power.
Oh, impeccable.
And thank you. But now just it was such like a for me just a groundbreaking scene when Loki was talking to that desk jockey, and who just had like a whole drawer full of Infinity Stones, and it just really kind of shattered everything in the MCU thus far, and been like, wow, so we've known nothing. Like there's so much we don't understand, both in like the viewer, the audience, and also as well as like Loki, who thought he was like one of the divine people in the universe.
I think it's a really smart way of putting into perspective, building upon what we've seen. Like,
Mhm.
Thanos seems like a pretty end boss kind of guy. Like, how do you top Thanos? Well, how do you top Thanos? By making the things that he's been chasing all of his life paperweights.
Yeah.
That slaps it right back down to, oh, okay, so that is not the most powerful being. There are far more powerful beings.
Mhm.
Can't
There's
wait
just-
to see what's gonna come out of that.
Yeah. Whether the timekeepers are actually this whole divine thing, or whether maybe they're just a few lizards in a room. It's definitely setting up the question that, like, from the first episode, we're like, okay, we got to take them at their word, because thus far everything they've said we've seen to be true. But then definitely in the second episodes, as Loki's digging into Mobius a little bit, digging into Owen Wilson, wow, we're definitely supposed to be questioning the validity of everything that's being said, and everything the TVA's whole goal and purpose, their glorious purpose, if you will.
What
Yeah.
is their glorious purpose?
To keep the sacred
Sacred
timeline
timeline.
one continuous stream, as the Ancient One had pointed out in Endgame, not have all these different offshoots that reach Redline and become a volatile branch of reality. But again, we're seeing all these different kind of variants, all these different kind of people and whatnot. And my personal thoughts are maybe the timekeepers are kind of screwed because there's a lot of possibilities for a multiverse and all the good that can come out with all the bad as well. Uh, and so maybe the timekeepers are like, I don't want to have to deal with any of this, so we're just going to keep it one time stream rather than having to keep check of all these different realities. So who knows? Who knows whether they're right in thinking that's the way time should work.
Yeah. So in the first episode, we get a lot of dialogue with Owen Wilson as Morbius.
Mobius.
Believe it-
Morbius is a vampire from Spider-Man, but
What
you were very close. Played
what
by
is
Jared
it?
Leto. Mobius.
Mobius.
Drop the M.
I believe his full name is actually Mobius M. Mobius. Believe it or not.
I think it actually is. I thought that
Yeah.
was a meme, but I think that's actually his name.
Yeah. But at the beginning we get a lot of dialogue between Mobius and Loki, and their on-screen chemistry is fantastic. Uh,
Unrivaled.
it's debatably, I think, better than the chemistry between new Captain America / Falcon and Bucky. I think that they are just jiving on some of those scenes,
Yeah. They
and
both, it
it's
seems,
just really working.
I like it because they're both like a little manipulative,
Hmm.
but Loki in a much more like blatant and like funny / like cruel way versus Mobius is more of like, I'm just gonna keep my cards to myself, and if I want to reveal one, I can. If I don't, I won't. So I think they play well off each other big time, which, like you were saying earlier, Jared, definitely allows the acting chops of Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson to shine through. So yeah, I'm liking it.
Very
Definitely.
much.
I like the result of the ending of episode 2. I mean, what are we thinking ultimately happens from all of these branch realities nearing, or I guess we can assume that they've all redlined, right?
Yeah,
What
or
do we
there's-
think is going to happen as a direct result of that choice that Lady Loki made?
My personal thought is, again, kind of going back to what I was saying originally about like whether the timekeepers actually know what's best for the time, the flow of time, the time stream. Is that I think that like we're going to start to see a bunch of different multiverses, which obviously they had talked about in the first episode. A big multiversal war. Hashtag Secret Wars is coming. What's it called? So I think that we're gonna. My personal prediction is that by the end of the series, we're gonna realize that having all these different branches like allows the universe to be free, because like obviously freedom of choice was a big topic of discussion throughout like the 2 episodes. Um, so I think that's what the whole like show's about. And if there's only one flow of time and everything happens for a reason, everything that has happened, and everything that will happen that way. I think, like Loki said, like there's no choice in that. There's no freedom. So I think that we're gonna allow for the multiverse to flourish and grow and expand and see all these different crazy things that Marvel has in plan. That's my
Yeah. In the one part they say that in the TV Loki and Mobius are talking, and he's saying that like in the TVA it seems like that's the only place where people actually get to decide, like they actually have free will. But in reality, if those timekeepers are still in control of everything, they still know what those people are gonna do, don't they?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
like really still they're almost the the like keepers of free will. And if it I have a sneaking suspicion, I don't think it's that big of like a too far out, but I don't think they're not very good. I think that they're keeping this timeline together to make sure what happens, that what happens is what they want to happen,
Yeah.
um, and not necessarily what needs to happen. Um, I don't necessarily think that Lady Loki is our bad guy by any means. Um, I think we're still they showed her very early, episode 2. I think we're still gonna see a bad guy, or stuff is gonna brew up to a point where we're we're more self-conscious about something else other than Lady Loki.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think that like it again, if the whole flow of time is supposed to go exactly how the timekeepers want, we wouldn't have people like the Loki in the show because technically this isn't the main Loki. This is a Loki where he made a different choice at one point and had this whole offshoot. And same thing with Lady Loki. Like these people wouldn't exist. And so as much as like the timekeepers wanted to look at them like they're not real because they're just variants, they're very much because of that alternate choice that they made now a completely different person in some aspects. So I think it's like almost like freedom of variation is a good way to word what I think the end goal is, what Lady Loki is trying to work towards, thus
Yeah.
allowing for free will and freedom of choice and whatnot.
Yeah. I think it'll be just interesting to see whether the timekeepers themselves reveal themselves to be kind of the enemy of the show, or whether maybe the timekeepers and the TVA is a positive organization, but possibly someone else has kind of infiltrated the minds of those at the head of it. It's possible. Or either, I feel like it's more likely that they are being like misguided somehow than that they are somehow just evil. But I guess that remains to be seen.
Or maybe not even. It's tough. I mean, because like every villain is the hero of their own story. It could be that kind of situation. It's like, well, we saw this whole multiversal war. Like, if we allow for these possibilities, yeah, there's a lot of good that could come out of it, but it could also cause another destruction of reality as we know it.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe just their kind of perspective is like, well, we've seen what happens. Let's keep it to one because that seems to just be the best thing for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, that I could definitely see it being something like that. Like there is a potentiality for this to happen again, but it's not necessarily a for sure thing. But because of it being potential, they were like, we can't allow anything that could possibly cause a variation from this one that we're gonna maintain. I could see
Best to
that.
avoid it altogether.
Yeah.
Yeah. One eerie thing that they often say in the show is that like time works differently in the TVA. And I feel like that's like it's gonna allude to something eventually. Like I'm not quite sure what. That's been said in Marvel before in previous things,
Yes, it
referring
has, Jared.
to the quantum realm.
That's
Uh,
right.
uh, they
Quantum.
they've described
Cool.
the quantum realm as time moves differently in there. So part of me thinks that the TVA is just a place in the quantum realm, kind of in between time,
Mm-hmm.
where they can just jump out of. They've just harnessed a way of being able to properly navigate the quantum realm.
Yeah.
Um, in that regard, they're not that powerful in a way. They've just figured out how to. I mean, they're very powerful. Don't get me wrong, but they're able to be stopped in that way because other people have, like the Avengers, figured out how to harness that power
Mm-hmm.
already. Um, so it will be interesting to see if we learn more about the TVA itself, because I think it's a very ominous thing right now.
Yeah, I agree. I had thought that too. I was like, where did they say time worked differently before? And I was like, oh, in Ant-Man when they were talking about the quantum realm, that time works differently. So I too had a similar idea about it possibly being in the quantum realm. I hadn't thought about that possibly being their downfall though. That's some good brain knowledge right there. That's some putting some pieces together. But this is all merely speculation. We do know Kang the Conqueror is going to be the villain of Ant-Man 3, and the whole thing's called Quantumania. And Kang, for those of you who don't know, is a time
Danky
traveling.
Kang.
Yes, his brother Dankus and his brother Spankus. Um,
Spankus.
Kang is a time traveling warlord, and obviously the show deals heavily with time. So it's possible we could get some setup for Ant-Man 3. Kang could be a part of this somehow, and that would make sense and tie everything together about like it's in the quantum realm, and that's how they used to defeat it. But
Yeah,
merely
Numbers add
speculation.
up. Numbers add up on this.
King the
I did the
Conqueror could
math.
be like one of the three.
He could be. I know a lot of people are saying that, but
The head lizard.
I'm keeping my expectations low just because I don't want to go through another Mephisto scenario from WandaVision. Like, where the fuck is Kang? Like,
Well, I have a feeling that it's not. We're not gonna get. We're gonna leave this series with way more questions than we have answers. That's what I feel like this is. It's going to lead to. It's going to. We might find out who the Time Lords are, and find out that they're being too controlling, and then that's the end of the series, and that's the setup for something for another thing
Maybe.
to follow suit. I definitely don't think we're gonna like take down the TVA or I don't think any of that's gonna happen in this series, honestly.
Well, I mean, we definitely have to get some sort of like closure with the whole, with everything that's going on. Like, we would need some sort of like finality to it, whether that actually be the destruction of the TVA or confronting the timekeepers themselves or anything like that. But at least questions answered, and what's it called? I do think that it could like leave the possibility for multiverses and stuff like that moving forward, leaving that open ended for Doctor Strange to explore, or for What If, the TV show coming out later this summer, to explore. But I hope we at least get some like emotional conclusion
Yeah.
and yeah, resolving of some issues going on in the show.
I don't know if you guys saw, but they just finished, like, they just wrapped up the last episode, like, this past week, which is really weird.
Of
Yeah.
of what?
I think that's
Of
a lot of re-
Loki. Of
Loki?
Loki.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Which is a little scary because I think. I don't
They
remember.
did
I read
one
something
season.
about them saying, like, how long it normally takes for them to process something, or, like, how long it should take, and it was, like, 8 or 9 weeks. And it was like, this is
Kind of close.
scary. And what we saw with the ending of, WandaVision, with just some lackluster CGI and overall just kind of questionable story ending. I really hope that doesn't happen again. You'd
Agreed.
think that all of it would be like intricately planned out going into it.
Plan
Yeah.
is there. It's just like they might get a little rushed on like the aesthetical side of things.
Hmm.
Whether we like their endings or not, I think those are still well thought out um, in terms of what their plan is, but maybe just the aesthetics are the thing that they're okay with rushing a little bit in certain scenes.
I hope that they stick to the finale that they had planned, as long as it's like a good and well constructed finale, because thus far both WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier underwent changes to their finales. I'm not sure if they were both because of COVID. I know that Falcon and the Winter Soldier had some plot line about like a virus or something that the Flag Smashers were going to release, and they were like, "Oh, this is a bit bit too real right now." So like,
Yeah.
bring that back. And then WandaVision, I think, was just because they like ran out of time because of COVID and whatnot, so they had to like finish it up. So I hope that they fully get to stick with their plan that they had, and that it's a proper good finale, because I think that Disney Plus is thus far having a hard time sticking it in terms of finales, other than The Mandalorian.
Yeah,
Both
I
of those
think
finales were
Loki.
pretty good.
Yeah, Loki's obviously changing a lot more though. I think
Yeah,
Loki story wise is vastly more important. So I don't think they're really gonna like just wing the end or not.
I
I
hope
don't know if
not.
that's a good word, but you know what I mean. I think
Yeah.
it's very well thought out. That being said, whoa, um,
Whoa, Matt.
Reverse.
yeah, Loki. I mean, we all know what other movies are coming out and how a lot of them have to do with multiverse,
But
and
nothing we know about Loki coming out. Maybe he.
that's true. That's true.
No.
The infamous dying
Do
of Loki
not
once
say this. Loki
Just saying.
shall rise with glorious purpose.
I'm sorry, what you said, Jared.
But yeah, it's. I think we're gonna come out with some big repercussions from Loki. I mean, we are already episode 2 bombed the sacred timeline. Like,
Well,
we
yeah.
don't know if they're gonna be able to manage that. If one of those streams passes the red line, which they established, they can't cut off that. They can't erase it. So what does that lead to? Does it take one line? Does it take 2 lines? How much has to get screwed up for it not to work? Also, we don't know if that's like the overall plan. Like, what is her plan? What is Lady Loki's plan? Is it to just screw up the timeline, or is that just a huge freaking diversion? We don't know.
Mystery.
Very confusing. But we did like the people at the TVA, clearly capable of dealing with a lot of complex and crazy scenarios. They all seem to be freaking out about the fact that the timeline was bombed.
Yeah.
So we're like, this is a fairly big deal, not something just like, oh shit, we're gonna have to deal with that. It's more like, what do we do? Like, we can't cut all these off.
Yeah.
So I think that it's gonna lead to the multiverse, and that this will be the Disney Plus MCU show that has like the most significant impact on what's going on outside of like the movies. Which I know that they said they wanted to make it, if you just watch the movies, you can follow everything that's still happening without necessarily having to watch the TV shows. But to just create a multiverse in one of the TV shows and not expect people to have to watch that is an interesting decision.
Yeah.
I really liked the scene where you see all the timelines going wonky, and the 2 guys are sitting in like the room where they obviously like report problems and stuff, and the guy's like vigorously looking through the book for like the code name of like what we call this sort of occurrence, and the guy's like, screw that. You don't got time to look for code names. They bombed the timeline.
Rapidly spins rotary dial.
I love that.
Yeah, that was a good scene. Clearly showing the severity of the situation.
Yeah.
And the hindrance of 70s technology.
Yeah, apparently the director really liked the stylistic choice of what's it called? She was like, this crazy advanced technology being operated in like the 70s aesthetic.
She
so-
watched Aliens right before this, is what you're saying?
Yeah. But
Yeah,
no, I'm loving the show, and also just the way it's like digging into Loki's psyche too. That was much more like the first episode, but like Mobius was like really digging. Like, why do you like to do this? Like, okay, so you're gonna be the king of space, whatever that means. What are you gonna do then? And then in the episode after, Loki was like, okay, here's a taste of your own medicine. What's the end goal of the TVA? And they're like, peace in the timeline. And they're like, yeah, but time is infinite. That's never going to happen. And he's like, well, then we will just keep doing this forever. And he's like, seems kind of futile. So
Yeah.
I like them kind of like ripping each other apart and going back in and like making them question themselves and their motives and their glorious purpose. This podcast episode should just be called Glorious Purpose.
Glorious purpose.
Glorious
It is our glorious purpose.
To make this episode of the podcast. And have it be recorded in full without a blue screen, without any problems.
And cue the blue screen.
Just by speaking it, I bring it into existence.
But wait, you said, Cole, about like getting to learn more about Loki. I think we're definitely gonna get a lot more of learning about Loki because I mean, Loki and female Loki, even their little like conversation of gauging each other, you still get like little tidbits into like how they work because they're both like scheming, they're both just trying to like manipulate each other in a short period of time. And it's very it's it must be really fun to write that. Like two mastermind
Like the same person.
manipulator. Yeah, the
Like
same.
you take the same person and then have to add traits and remove traits to like make them somewhat distinct, whether that be powers or whether that be like dialogue specific. Uh, what's it called? I that must be like a really cool writing challenge to be like, all right, we got to make them sound somewhat similar but also distinct enough. I'm interested to see what Lady Loki's whole motive is, and like where she's coming from, how her life differs from Loki itself and or Loki himself. So I'm loving the show so far. I'm pretty hyped for it.
And we're seeing a lot of Lady Loki's magic, but I can't wait to get to see a little bit more of Loki's
Mhm.
magic. He's been in the TVA. Magic doesn't work in the TVA, so we haven't really gotten to see a lot of that. But hopefully in future we get to see a lot more of Loki doing cool things because he is
Beyond,
still a master of his own craft.
exactly.
Um,
Beyond just making knives or making illusions, because
yeah.
for what 4 MCU appearances, that's pretty much what we've gotten, and he's supposed to be
Mhm.
on. He's supposed to be on Doctor Strange level of sorcery, and we're like,
Yeah.
"Well, we've
He
seen
is
what
a
he.
nice.
Loki's like daggers though. You did you know that I could do that? It's
Don't
like
That's a
do it
nice
again.
knife.
Don't make me
cool.
do it.
Now
I,
that's a knife.
I also liked when he made that distinction when they were like, yeah, he can make illusions and projections of himself, and Loki was like, nah, two different things, two different things. What? And he like goes in the whole explanation of it, and they were like, okay,
Simmer down there, bud. Simmer down.
cool.
Simmer on
Anyway,
down.
back to the mission. Yeah.
I honestly was kind of surprised in the beginning of the second episode, I guess, when Loki pulled another prank on Mobius. I was like, you got it. Come on, man. Like, come on, man.
as as much as we're trying to figure out like what's going on with Lady Loki and the TVA and stuff, Loki being a cunning bastard as he is, we also don't entirely know whether Loki's going to try to work with Lady Loki to destroy the TVA, or if he's going to pretend to do something like that to actually take down Lady Loki, or like
But
where his
yeah,
loyalties actually lie as well. So there's misdirection all around.
I think that that's part of what makes Loki such a fun character and such an interesting character to watch because it, you've seen it in everything that he's been in. He backstabs everybody. He's not
Mhm.
afraid, like he's very independent, but he's willing to work with people until he doesn't want to work with them anymore. So he but he has a good he does a good job of making you feel comfortable in the fact that like, oh, he's changing.
Every
He's gonna
time,
be
dude. Every
good
time.
now. Finally, we get like this cool version of Loki where he's just gonna be a good guy, and then he does something where the only truly good thing we've ever seen him do is try to protect his brother from Thanos.
Yeah,
That's it. That's basically it. But that's
that's the Loki
family.
peak. Mm-hmm. Even
Uh,
Thor says like you're getting predictable. Like you do the same shit every single time. We
yeah,
can never trust you. And everybody in the TV is talking to Mobius like, stop trusting him. He will never be trustworthy. And Loki's like,
yeah.
how will I know?
But
What if
there's
I
a
do something new?
chance.
Yeah.
I love how also in the first episode how the TVA points out that because Loki is who he is, they have run-ins with variations of Loki's all the
Oh
time. Like
my.
they're used to Loki's, like because he's powerful enough to run into situations where he would affect timelines. So
Mhm.
I just love that they already were like in the know, showing the different Lokis. Um,
I want to see that big yellow one.
The
like
guy, the
Yeah.
Hulk Loki.
Hulky.
That'd be sick. Hulky.
Yeah.
Hulky.
Come
In a
here,
much
Hulky. Come here.
in the much tamer way, I want to see the Usain Bolt one, the one where he's like his like whole like 5K outfit.
Yeah, I don't know what was up with that one.
It was funny though. I liked it. Hopefully, we get to see some more beyond our variant Loki. That's the subject of this show, and Lady Loki. If we got to see some like other types of Loki that just pop up, like, hey, I can help out. Another Loki here. Allow me to offer my 2 cents.
Oh my gosh, could you imagine a three-way conversation between three Lokis?
Three.
The amount of conniving
And
going
So
on
much
there.
mischievousness in one room.
Yeah. And on a more serious note, I think that like it's interesting when Mobius was talking about how he thinks Loki's insecure about this other Loki being a better Loki, and so she very well could be a better Loki, but is she like a better Loki? You know what I mean? Like she might be more capable or something like that, but maybe being Loki is partly being underwhelming at some points. So I like what the whole like question of what does it mean to be Loki?
Yeah,
That's cool.
well, they kind of like touched into that the smallest little bit when they said that like a Loki's purpose is to make make other people the best version of themselves. And I
Mhm.
thought that was really interesting just because could you imagine like he just saw that his whole life is letting people down and he always gets beat because he helps make people the best version of themselves. That
But
would be a depressing like as the god that he is to know that your destiny is just to make people better by failing. That's
yeah,
depressing for him, I feel like.
It's not
I
a
feel
good
like there's
life.
going to be
yeah,
this. I feel like being in the TVA drastically changes who Loki is and like how he perceives himself going forward.
That's
If
why that
Loki survives.
betrayal to me was so confusing. It was after he had already seen all the footage about his life, and then he was like, "I'm gonna try one more time." He's like, "Oh,
I
there's
think
Well, you have
secret
to
traps.
think
My
he
it's
has-
ears
only a
are
couple
very
days.
good."
I think he was like testing their gullibility. Like I don't think he expected that plan to work. He's like, if it did, cool. Like I know how easy I can control these
Still,
guys.
though, that's pretty not changed man of him.
But
I don't think he is, man.
the way
I
I
think
look
you're
at
right.
it,
That's what I'm saying.
the way I look at it is like he saw, like Jared said, his whole life played out in front of him, and he's told that he will never. The best version of Loki is being a failure, so everybody else can be better. And he knows how it's going to end. He knows that his mom's going to die, his dad's going to die, that he's going to die protecting Thor, and from like a situation that he caused, and a lot of these incidents are from situations he caused. I think that's gonna like kind of want him to connive against the timekeepers because he's like, why would I want this to be my life? Like you're telling me this is the only way for me to continue my existence. What this existence is just pain. So I think that's kind of why he's like, you know what, like as much as the timekeepers like clearly are immensely powerful and maybe what they're saying holds some weight to it, I think that like he's like, you know what, but I would also like to live differently now that I know how everything's gonna happen.
See, from my perspective, I would think he would get that information and then be like, well, clearly, assuming this is true, and obviously it looks to all be very real, the TVA is the only person who seemingly is aware of this, and I'm going to make a guess that they're also the only ones who could potentially get me out of this. And obviously, after that moment of seeing the Infinity Stones and stuff, there was some amount of connection in his head that, like, this is a power that I can't mess with. So it was like, I don't know. Seems like a bit divergent in his thinking there. So I think he probably just will permanently have a mischievous nature about him, but he's not necessarily gonna like mess people up or like make people suffer like he has in the past.
And it's not like by Loki going through that portal, that means that he's like completely going against the TVA. Yeah,
That
they
wasn't. Yeah,
they
that I
said
wouldn't
not
be
to.
referring to. I was just referring to the beginning of the episode where basically they find all the bodies, right? And then Loki tries to tell Mobius about how good his ear is.
After
Yeah, okay.
whole "I need a hero" fight scene.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's a fun opening.
that was really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it will be interesting going forward. Uh, a lot is happening, and a lot is still to come. This is only a 6 episode series, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the crazy thing. Not much left.
No. So we're already
Third of
a
the way
third
through.
of the way there.
We're
Yep.
one. If this was movies, we're like a third of the way through the trilogy of movies.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
If this
Yes.
was Lord of the Rings movies, we're halfway through Lord of the Rings movies. If this was a 6 episode series on Disney Plus,
If it was 9 episodes, we'd be 3 episodes in.
yes. If it was 1,000 episodes,
I'm not doing that math.
333.3 repeating.
yes.
Wow, Jared, look, you're so smart. Cool.
Okay, you have a calculator integrated into your brain, Jared. Whatever, man.
You're so cool. Are you happy we invited you to the podcast? Are you happy you're here? Are you happy you just
With your quick maths, think
Yeah,
you're gonna
whatever.
show up with your maths.
whatever?
I wonder if people will
As
take
far as
that
now
seriously
invalid.
because it's so simple math that they're like, wow, that if they think that kid's smart for saying that, these guys are idiots.
Well,
That
just so
kind of
that there's a
me.
level of understanding between them and us, they are correct in that assumption, and no
Ooh, Jared.
no correction needs to be made.
None whatsoever.
Oh
So,
man, final
Loki.
thoughts on Loki? I'm gonna give it a beep out of a sine wave.
Nice.
I would give it a ba-da-da-da-da.
Very nice. I'll give it a. Okay, there we go.
Very
That's-
nice,
Little
beautiful. Nah, I
like
could tell that those were all positive. I could tell. I knew.
Jared's really liking the show. Wow.
Yeah, wow. He's never said that about a show before.
You know me? That was a compliment.
So yeah, stay tuned for more Loki discussion going forward. Now the train that we're on right now, it's on a rail and about to derail to get
We're
us
about
on-
to talk about
another trail.
Snowpiercer, the film about
With-
trains.
Chris Evans and Willy Wonka.
No, we're not
talking
going to
about
talk
that.
about the movie. We're going to talk about the TV series. That is terrible.
Oh yeah, I heard that came out. I haven't seen that.
It's
I heard they eat
it's the
bugs.
worst version.
Isn't
far
Snowpiercer
worse.
made by the same guy who did Parasite?
Yes, I believe. No, Train to Busan, I think is what you're thinking of.
I might be thinking that.
What with the train? Makes
And
sense.
the
But
Busan.
actually, Bad Batch, we got 2 episodes to talk about. What did we think about episode 7 and episode 8?
Well, it's almost like somebody had a theory that completely came true, and it was pretty much called right off the bat, right off the Bad Batch, and so
Just take
Wrecker.
a moment. I know you can't hear the clapping, but I am clapping. Oh, he's too pumped. He's
Guys,
too
I
pumped.
was too excited.
He's too pumped.
I was too excited.
So well done, Winnie.
I
You
tried to
guessed
stand
it.
up.
You were able with one slightly
head
more
cold.
announced headache than you would like. You guessed it. Well
Thank
done.
you. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank my parents and thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We'll be back with more theories next time on the correct things. All of our theories are all going to be right now that we've set the bar. Yeah.
And also Rex showed up as well, so that was cool.
Yes.
was-
Rexodus.
Rex was just like about ready to gun down. He was like, oh, it's good seeing you. It's been a minute. Wait a second. You don't have your chips removed? Sorry to
He's-
old Yeller this situation.
Gonna have to put you down.
Yeah. You can only imagine how many other clones he's like had to do that to.
Dude, he has probably killed a lot of his former brothers.
He seemed more like cold and
Hardened.
distant. Yeah. Which he was already like a pretty hardened guy.
Mhm.
But like even just in this it was like no jokes, no I'm happy to see you, just more like I'm on a mission.
Yeah.
I must complete my mission.
He's very on edge
Will you guys
for good reason, I would say.
Yeah. His whole leaders and family came crashing down and was either killed or turned to the dark side. So
Yeah.
I can't imagine that do well in that
we-
mental spot either.
We now know that they're just kind of working for the lizard lady,
Mhm.
to try to make ends meet, which I didn't expect. I honestly thought she was gonna kind of be a character that came back a little later, asking for something, but no, they're just kind of chilling out with her.
Lizzo.
Lizzo. But yeah, I'm enjoying it thus far. I liked Rex coming back. It was a good episode. Kind of made things a little bit more tense again. 'Cause we had a couple lighter episodes. So this kind of brought it back to the main plot line. Which I think, Cole, you were really hoping that we got a little bit more grasp on the main plot line
Yeah.
again.
Even like Wrecker turned like flipping, I like that was more of a subplot, but even that like felt like it was actually carrying some sort of weight to it versus
Yeah.
like all these kind of like, oh, let's go rescue Rancourt. Oh no,
Yeah.
now we're
It
like when
actually
Wrecker
had implications for the rest of the show.
exactly when Wrecker flipped, it also was just like it worked even well to see the contrast between like Wrecker is usually this like really fun kind of bubbly guy who obviously is a tank, but like fun bubbly guy to just like I'm going to murder you
And have a
theoretically-
good time doing it.
and like he could just rip them apart without any guns or
Dude.
lightsabers or
Yeah,
anything.
he's
So
the
it was
last
just-
guy I would want to flip over in close quarters like that. Like
Yeah.
that was the worst place for him to, and the worst one of them all. Like it was
Yeah.
just, it was bad.
If Echo turned, he'd be like, I'm gonna hack you.
Yeah.
Watch out, my arm spins. Sometimes I'll hold a gun in my other arm, though frankly, when I'm trying to use my computer arm, I don't have the processing power to use the gun as well, so I'll often just sit there. So please don't hurt me while I'm doing that, because this is my attack. I'm gonna go spin my arm.
I do really like that they have been doing this the whole series, but they've been really building a nice little relationship between her, Omega, and Wrecker.
Mhm.
I think they get along because they're both children. Quite they have
Well,
the same.
They both mentally are children.
Yes.
They're both mentally children.
Yeah.
The tradition, very cute. And just building more of their little friendship, which made that flipping scene even better.
Terrifying.
I think Cole, I saw you wrote this, and I was thinking the same thing. I would have wished that they're very short episodes, so you can only put so much in one episode, and I understand that. But I almost wish that whole event was a little more.
a little bit like not resolved that episode. Like not even saying that his switch should have been like kept, like he should have stayed evil and joined Crosshairs or whatever. But like even like if they did switch him back, if he was like, "Oh my God, I almost killed you guys," I don't want to be around there. What if there's another chip or something like that? And like he kind of went off did his own thing, and then
Yeah.
just like the Bad Batch drops one by one, and it's like then at the end of the season they got to get everybody all back or something like that.
That would have
But
been
yeah,
crazy.
it was a good moment. It was a great episode compared to like the last few, but it would have been nice to have some more like things carrying on from that whole.
Agreed.
A little more meat.
Yeah, meat.
But
less
that said, we talking about meat. We're gonna pull out the steak for episode 8, dude. Because episode 8 brought it all back around after all of this time. I mean, I don't know how many times, 5 episodes, 4 episodes, we've now been saying, like, what's up with Crosshair? Wonder what Crosshair is doing. You know, like, in other words, what happened to the main story of this show? Where did the
What happened
story of
to
this show
one
go?
of the members of Bad Batch.
Yeah. So seeing Crosshair come back was instantaneously like, oh baby, we're in for a good one. Which, yeah, that was great going through it, and of course the surprise appearance at the end of the episode was sick.
I
don't have the time to shoot people like you.
My way, little lady. I like. It was a pretty straightforward episode, and then when I saw all those people were dead, I was like, "Is it Crosshair?" And I was like, "No, it feels like a bounty hunter." They said it's a bounty hunter. Oh, it's probably Fennec Shan from a few episodes ago. And then, no, sir, Mr. Little Robot comes walking down, and I was like, "Oh, that's one person's robot. That is one person. It's a fucking space cowboy."
Hell yeah.
Goddamn, the return of Cad Bane is a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one.
How did we leave off Cad Bane in Clone Wars? Do you guys remember?
So in Clone Wars, I think the last thing that he did is when they had that whole Obi-Wan undercover bounty hunter arc. I don't think he was in it past then. There was going to be an episode of him in season 7 that they cut and never finished, but it was like a whole standoff between him and Boba. Like Boba finally gets his armor, and Boba and Cad Bane had a whole standoff, like a Western duel, and that's where Cad Bane dies, and that's where Boba Fett gets the dent in his helmet.
Oh, that would have been so dope, though.
So sweet.
Now, my prediction, and this could be rampant speculation, is that Boba Fett is going to be hired hired by Bad Batch or something to go rescue Omega, and that's when the standoff is going to happen. They have like all the visuals done, they just didn't have it like finalized and like polished and everything. So theoretically, you could still watch the episodes on YouTube and whatnot, but I think they would just rewrite it a little bit and have the showdown.
Dude, Omega and young Bobby could be a love interest there. That would be so cute. Young Bobby
cool.
taking Omega back to his palace of lies and deceit.
I like when Hunter and Cad Bane were having that whole like standoff. I was like completely torn because I was like, well, I don't want to see Hunter die, but I also do not want to see Cad Bane die, and I feel like this is Cad Bane's like bowl of cereal right here. Like he could, this is what he's used to every day. Like he's like, oh, standoff, no problem. And like even Hunter like went the whole outstretched sort of thing, and Cad Bane just flicked his wrist up and just down. And I was like, okay, sad to see Hunter take that shot, but to be expected.
It was great, and I love seeing. I just can't wait to see like where that goes to now, because now we're gonna get a little animosity between those two. We're getting a little bit of character building, little
Connoisseur.
little something going on there. But yeah, it was a good episode until the end. Then it was a great episode.
Man, it was a fan freaking
That was
cast.
It was just a crazy ending. I mean, everything. I know, Cole, you pointed out in the notes there. You talked about the first person shot of when Hunter's being dragged. That was
so
crazy. What I was just thinking of though was like right before that, the shot of Crosshair all bandaged up, like yelling. That was like kind of spooky, and I was also like, I know this probably is not the case because I'm sure he already has a backstory, but I was like, that kind of looks like Dengar.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people are saying that. Unfortunately, Dengar has already been in the Clone Wars, so it's probably not him. But I thought the same.
Yeah.
We'll have to see what kind of cybernetics he has. Like next episode, he could have like a whole like Terminator eye, where it's just like he just pinpoint what he's trying to shoot.
Shot moment.
Yo,
That
that
was
would be sweet.
that was a cool way to. They were like, oh shit, they're gonna fry us with the engine. Well, what if we just break the engine holder off so that way it just sprays them? It was intense. It was
Can
cool.
you imagine how hot that would be? Those things have to be able to blast through space and time,
At
and
faster than light speed.
yeah, and that he was like maybe 100 yards away,
Yeah.
just getting blasted.
It's like, stop it, turn it off.
Yeah.
That was intense. You'll have
Pain.
to see that. If they're trying to win back Crosshairs, that was a horrible job. I think he's gonna definitely.
Well,
If
we
it was-
tried.
I think that even if they got the chip out, he'd still be like, "You blasted me in the face with a starship engine. I can't come back from that."
It all hurts. This whole thing. The everything.
Yeah, so we'll have to see where Cad Bane's taking Omega, how Crosshair is going to look and feel after that finale, and where Bad Batch is going to try to look for some help to go get Omega. Omega.
The really interesting thing is about like having Crosshair as your enemy is that he knows them. So he
Mhm.
knows all their little tricks, all their little schemes, and they showed that in the episode multiple times where he's not thinking through what a normal team would do. He's thinking through what this team would do. And he's one step ahead of them because he knows what their intuitions are. And I really liked how they did that and made for you're not quite sure who's gonna outsmart who in the moment, which I thought built up some good moments in that episode.
Seriously
like-
suspenseful.
Yeah, it seemed like only on the fly was when they had any sort of shot of like outplaying him. Was like when they were just coming up with stuff like this specific scenario, we could do something like this and it worked.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It was the last two episodes definitely made me like, okay, we're getting back to the meat.
I'm
and
excited again.
I'm back into it.
Yeah.
I'm not like
I have a
wading in water
feeling
right now.
Yeah, I have a feeling though, because this is like another Clone Wars show. Clone Wars loves the filler episodes. They like to diverge off of the main plot line, and do some side missions.
Yeah.
And so to think that, I think we got back on for a little bit. Obviously, we have to go get Omega, so we're gonna stay on. Maybe this
hope
could be a 3-parter, maybe even a 4-parter, where we're really on the main course, and then we're gonna go back to the green beans in a little bit. Like I think we're gonna be getting the
Interesting
veggies.
analogy. Yeah. The weird thing about like Clone Wars is like because it was drawing a blank on the term, but like an episodic thing where like only the few episodes that you watched in sequation of each other mattered. Like everything, it's like as plot lines, just little trunks. So when it was filler, it was just more to fill the season up rather than like just to fill the story up.
Yeah.
So you would have like 4 consistent episodes sometimes of like a very serious storyline that would start and end and like all be resolved mostly with like maybe some loose strings hanging versus a show like this where again it's much more serialized. So they like have to come up with filler to fill the season up, but that also has to pertain to the narrative of the story. So I think it's Dave Filoni working on this, like the creative director of this. I'm sure it's a little different for him to work on, jumping from Clone Wars to this.
Definitely different, yeah. But that said, I sincerely hope that doesn't necessarily remain the case, Jarod. I mean, yeah, story-wise, we said there was, 16 episodes?
Yeah, 16.
So we're halfway through.
Hopefully the latter half is all story.
Yeah, that's just one of those things we're going to have to hope and wait and see and report back to you guys, because we know that some of you actually care.
Yeah, you're going to be watching and waiting in anticipation for what we have to say.
They're informed opinions, oh my. I must learn. I'm sure we're all here to educate everyone, yes. We're all
Don't
here.
watch any other podcasts. Don't watch any other videos. Come straight here. And if we haven't uploaded yet, you're probably
rewatch.
refresh.
No.
Rewatch all the episodes.
Yeah, rewatch, refresh. Rewatch, refresh.
Subscribe, new channel. Subscribe, new channel. Just say it.
So we got one last thing on the old doqueto for today, and that's the imaginary word in my mind for docket. Now that would be Richard and his son Mortissimo in their new season 5 episode 1. Rick and Morty is back, baby, and I'm loving it. I'm Mr. Nimbus.
Mr. Nimbus, the earth shall be wet.
Wet.
Yeah.
Very moist.
It's very interesting to hear, kind of like with Mr. Nimbus and everything, just to like go right into like get some backstory for Rick.
Yeah.
That Rick literally was trying to avoid, whether it
avoid canonical backstory.
Whether it's an offhand comment about Rick's dead wife, or whether it was like establishing how Rick used to be a more like promising man, and now it's just this kind of like sad shell of a husk of emotions.
Yeah. When I saw Nimbus and the first time, I was wondering if this was a former love of Rick's. I was waiting for that to be revealed, but they didn't say anything about it, so it's possible that wasn't the case.
I also wouldn't be surprised knowing Rick.
Yeah.
If he was invited to one of Mr. Nimbus's sessions or whatever that.
Getting cold feet.
Yeah. It was a cool episode. And Morty's clearly grown as a character.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Talking with the ladies for once. Got a little smooching.
Well, it took him to the point where he thought he was gonna die to ask her out, but he went through with it. He didn't pussy out. So you can at least say good on him for that.
I'm proud of you, Morty.
And then he had this whole when he was going into the Narnia dimension to get those bottles of wine, like it kept getting crazier and crazier and worse, but Morty never, like, until the very, very end, he didn't ask Rick for help. At one point he was just like, screw this, I'm doing it myself, and like was beating people up with his fist, was walking in,
the place,
destroyed the entire kingdom. And I like how there's each separate time they were like, this child is never returning, and then he'd pop up, they're like, oh shit, he's real.
He's real. We wasted our entire lives. That was great. I'm just so glad to honestly have new Rick and Morty content. Like, there's only so much you can usually delve into the standard episode because it's like hilarious, but it's just such great content. I was talking about it with my brother last week, and it's like so consistently good. Like, I can think of some not as great episodes of Rick and Morty, but like it remains one of my favorite shows just because of how silly it is. It's just so silly.
Yeah, and they do such a good job of just having this dark humor that isn't like, it's always refreshing. Like, it's never just like really dark humor for the sake of being dark. It's got purpose behind it, and it makes you feel terrible about certain characters. I love that they just bring in these side characters and they just you might think that episode's gonna revolve around them a little bit, and then they'll just kill them with a development train for them. They develop the character, and then they're just like, all right, now, yeah, this guy's gonna die.
Kill them now.
For like just the brief episode that they're in, or the one plot line or whatever, they fully flesh it out just to end it. And it's just like, you didn't have to do that, but you did. You provided like layers to a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jerry and Beth seem to be
On the up and up.
on the up and up again,
Yeah.
which is it's really a roller coaster ride with them. You never know if they're gonna be happy or just complacent with each other at the time. It goes episode by episode, so it doesn't really matter too much.
Yeah. I'm
It's
sure.
really
I don't think he
really
likes
interesting.
actually writing
love stories.
love
or-
stories.
Yeah.
He did the same thing with Community, where he would write love stories, but the next season he would pretty much drop it because he didn't really care too much about it. He would just be like, "Ah, yeah, we're done. We moved on."
And we saw
So
that
he
twice.
doesn't really like doing that.
And we saw that twice with this episode, with like the whole, what'd you say, Beth and Jerry kind of like coming back, so on and off and on and off, or Morty finally getting a date with Jessica, and then how I was like, oh, finally they're gonna be able to watch that movie, and then Jessica's a time god now. That whole crazy.
Fuck off!
shit
I'm a time god.
Time is all we have.
That
Time
was
is all
so
we
silly,
have.
dude.
Oh, so Jessica's like crazy now.
So she was conscious that whole time.
Funny thing is I don't think she said she's a time god now. I don't think she's powerful at all. I think she just lived really extensively for a long period of time in a crystal watching
Yeah.
civilization. So
She's
Probably super
I think
wise.
I think she thinks she's better than she actually is, though, which is I find kind of funny. She just like immediately walked out and was like, "Ah, I'm too good for this."
Like, she's like, I looked into the face of God and saw nothing.
Yeah. And also, the what's the guy's name? I can't remember.
Mr. Nimbus.
Thank you, Mr.
How
Nimbus.
could you forget?
Mr. Nimbus. Rick said
like
that he was like he's kind of like frightened by him a little bit, or they're mortal enemies or whatever. Mr. Nimbus didn't need a portal to get to them on the other planet. So he's obviously got, although he is comically hilarious with the fact that
He just
he is-
swangs his junk, dog.
he just swings his junk around. But it is great. He's definitely powerful. So
Yeah.
maybe we'll get a little bit more of him later. Maybe
literally kicked Rick's ass.
Dude,
Gotta,
the
roll.
fight.
Fuck.
Flee. That was fucking hilarious, dude.
It's Mr. Nimbus Summer. He controls the police.
Controls the police.
So they're like, I don't see how it matters, but we're white. And then the cops all show up immediately. Yeah. that was funny.
Oh,
Or the scene where
good memes.
I got my witness, and he's like roasting the octopus, and the octopus is like, "Hey man, I'm just here. Don't make this about me." He covered his ass. Good. Welcome back to Rick and Morty.
Looking
Yes.
forward to more. Ready for
And
it.
and they've
Whether
already
it be on
got, like,
YouTube or not.
yeah, they've already got like a bunch of episodes planned out, don't they? Like
Right.
they're
think
ready
they
to
said,
go with that.
I think they said they're like digitally finishing up season 6, and they're finishing season 7 writing process right now.
That's crazy, man.
So they're gonna try to be a little bit more consistent with the releasing.
Yeah.
Is that what I'm getting out of that?
Mm-hmm.
We don't want Rick and Morty to literally like 10 seasons to take up a 20-year time span,
Yeah.
30-year time span.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
not
I
a lot.
mean, when I I caught it in season 2. How long ago was that? That
I
was
feel like-
ages.
Yeah. I remember my brother telling me about.
2013.
That's how I figured out about
Wow.
it.
Morty's been going on for 8 years now.
8 years. That's
Crazy.
nuts.
Yeah.
Here's to 8 more glorious Ricky and Morty.
Yeah. I'm excited.
I'm excited.
So
That's it.
Yeah,
That's
we got a lot of content coming, guys. This is honestly a great period in which to live, if not only for the content that's coming out. And that includes us. So keep that in mind. Next time you're having a bad day, just remember you'll miss out on the best podcast in the world.
every single time a new episode comes out, don't think, oh, hey, yeah, I get to watch that new episode of a show that I love. Think, hey, I get to watch the new episode of the podcast where they talk about the show that I love. I
Yeah.
want your guys' excitement, homework for all of our audience, all 26,000 viewers.
Get excited.
Get excited.
Like,
Get pumped. I want you to quit your day job so you can watch our stuff on endless repeat.
farm account creations to boost the popularity of the channel so that we can in turn promote the channel, not profit. No, promote the channel. We want to
promote.
We don't want to profit.
promote the
We want
yeah.
profit. We want money.
But actually, guys,
All
like,
right.
subscribe, comment. You know what I want to hear is, what is your favorite color of ranch dressing? That's a great question. Yeah. What is your favorite color of ranch dressing? Who knows?
That in the comments.
I'm going to
So-
go orange. Also, maybe you could talk about something that we talked about that might be more relevant.
No,
Like,
no,
what
don't
did
do
you
that.
think of
Don't.
Omega's blaster of purple bowness? Like, what
Nope,
did you
don't
think?
talk about that.
No?
Talk about the ranch. Talk about the ranch.
Yeah. I thought that's why I said it. If
we
And this
see any
week's-
comments about
this
it,
week's survival tip, everybody,
Great.
to
More.
avoid tripwire mines.
Yes.
oh, subject
This
matter
isn't
here.
actually how to avoid them. This is just awareness of what they are. Stepping across a wire attached to the detonator will cause the mine to explode. Now you are ready. Go out into the wild, and for 6 days, think about what you could have done if you hadn't known that. You would have been just, at any moment, you could have seen the wire connected between somewhere that there would be some sort of bomb, and you would have been like, that's probably not a bomb. Now you know. You're welcome. Come back. We'll be here in 1 week's time with new Loki, new Bad Batch, new Rick and Morty. And actually, I believe in just 2 weeks' time, we will be bringing you a special episode for the new Black Widow movie that is coming to theaters pretty soon.
Stay tuned for that special episode. It'll be its own thing. It won't be a part of that weekly little process. We're going to watch it separately and then record on a separate time. So make sure y'all stay tuned for that. Make
You
sure
get
you
to
click
see-
that like button.
You
Don't
get to
let that
see Cole and I together in person.
We might be together. Maybe we'll be on opposite sides of the couch. You can never predict what might happen because the future's ever changing and variants and
Matt.
such. Matt. Matt.
Did you hear
stay
something?
tuned.
I'll be here.
Do you hear something, Jared? Do you hear something?
Sounds
Oh,
What
I
is that?
think I might-
What's-
I think I might. Oh, you
Oh,
know what?
hang on.